welcome in on a Monday evening here on the Texans Collective here on YouTube. Appreciate everybody joining us as we are smack dab in between OTAs and mandatory minicamp, and we got a ton of stuff to get to on the field, off the field, with OTAs, with minicamp coming up. A lot of observations to get to from over the last couple weeks as we start to head into the summer months here. Good to be with all of you. Appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Appreciate everybody giving us a like and a subscribe as well here to the Texans Collective on YouTube. I am Sean Pendergast, one half of Payne and Pendergast on Sports Radio 610, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. weekdays, alongside Landry Locker of the Locker Room at Landry Locker and SNL. Reggie Atatula, down there on the bottom right, in the loop, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sports Radio 610. And, of course, Cody Stutz, the other half of SNL and Houston Football with Cody Stutz. Gentlemen, always great to sit down on a Monday evening and chop it up about what's going on with the Texans. So we got a lot to get to from OTAs over the last couple weeks. We'll get into the good, the bad that we may have seen. Minicamp coming up this week. But one of the biggest developments, I would say, at least in terms of the emotions for Texan fans, was Tank Dell getting back on the field at the very end of Thursday OTAs. Landry, I think I was standing next to you, and we were starting to get whisked over to the tent to do media, to do the press conferences. And I don't think there was any correlation or anything like that. I don't think they were whisking us away because Tank Dell was coming out. But as we're walking back over to the parking lot where the tent is to do media, out runs number one with his helmet to go participate in walkthroughs at training camp. And before we were able to get out of there, he caught a couple passes, a little toe tapper along the sidelines, half speed, walkthrough stuff. But seeing Tank Dell at least getting back on the field and doing something, I think was pretty cool for a lot of people. And the Texans posted on their social. They were obviously excited about it. What was your guys' reaction to Tank Dell actually now, taking another step towards hopefully coming back this season?
Half steps kind of generous, or half speed's kind of generous, I would say. It was
32% speed. Yes,
it was very, very good. Good to see, and it's a big step. And I've maintained that Tank Dell just going out and stretching is an accomplishment with everything that he went through and the injuries that he went through. It is an accomplishment. I think perspective, though, provided is Aiden Fisher participated in that walkthrough as well, and he didn't even have a helmet, and he didn't even practice all week. So I do think that there does need to be kind of like, in today's world, there does need to be like some perspective and kind of reel it in and make it clear. Tank Dell did not return to practice. He participated in a very light walkthrough, and Tank Dell's been around the team the whole time. So it's a nice step, but there's still a long way to go for Tank Dell, and there's a lot of questions to ask there. But it's definitely a great thing to see him run out there. And by the way, he has more aura on the team than anyone. He did make entering the field on the walkthrough look like freaking Keanu Reeves in The Replacements. Like, he runs out there, he puts his helmet on. So it was probably the most electric walkthrough that I've seen. But I do think in today's world where the headlines kind of get rolling and it says Tank Dell returns to practice, I want to make it clear Tank Dell is not cleared for full speed practice yet.
Yeah, I think I'll actually pair this development with something that happened on your show, Sean, when Nick Caserio said that pretty definitively that the expectation is that Tank Dell will be practicing by training camp, which that tracks, right? Another month from now, it feels like if he's just able to step on the field, we should be able to run that up to actual speeds. And for me, the only thing that I actually get to is we should have an idea of what the hell Tank Dell is for this season before you get to this season. And that's something. Like, that's not nothing. Going into the season, being able to make your 53-man roster with a actual understanding of what Tank Dell should be able to reasonably give you is not nothing, all things considered, in my opinion.
Yeah, the way I would look at it is if finding out what Tank Dell has is jumping into the swimming pool, this wasn't even dipping a toe in the swimming pool. This was just pulling out the little temperature thing to see how warm the swimming pool was. Like, I wouldn't even characterize this as like a step forward. I think it's just pointed in the right direction. Like, there's so much more that has to be accomplished from Tank Dell before you are that point, like Reggie's talking about, where you find out about him. And that's the thing where you have the delineation as to exactly what to expect for the actual football season. Is, can he practice in training camp? And then he has all these other checkpoints until he's on the field in the 2026 season trying to help the Houston Texans win a football game. They're pointed in the right direction, just not ultimately a huge step in that right direction. That feels like that's more of a training camp scene.
Yeah, well, and I guess just to contextualize a little bit of what Reggie just said about Nick Caserio on our show, when I asked him, I just asked him, do you expect Tank to practice? Like, because there's so much chatter about, do we expect him to do anything at any point? Because he's been in the bubble the whole time. It was such a traumatic injury and all that. So I basically asked Nick, do you expect him to practice at some point, whatever that is? And Nick said yes. And as Reggie pointed out, he had training camp as sort of a soft, firm kind of timeline. You know, he left open the possibility. He said most likely and things like that. He left open some wiggle room to training camp. But that interview was on Wednesday. Tank took the field in OTAs on Thursday. There's no way Nick Caserio gave that answer on Wednesday without knowing that Tank Dell was going to participate in something on Thursday. I don't think they just woke up Thursday morning and said, you know what? Or like in the middle of the practice, you know what? Tank looks ready to go. Let's put him in these walkthroughs right here. They have handled that whole thing with such kid gloves that I think they know every step of the way what it's going to look like for the next few months. So there's no way Nick gave that answer of training camp, practicing, knowing full well the Tank was getting on the field to do something. So I think that kind of contextualizes what the definition is of what Nick Caserio views as something substantial. And Thursday, in the eyes of people that need him to play football for them, was not something necessarily substantial. I'm coming at it from the view of a fan, which is just the emotion of seeing Tank after that devastating knee injury in a Texans jersey with number 1 on it, putting a helmet on and doing something out there. It was cool to get excited about that for the young man, if nothing else. Like, just it hit, like, it was probably, like, for him emotionally, that was probably a big step for him just to get on the field and do something with his teammates. He hadn't done that in 18 months.
Yeah, and I think the emphasis on what actually happened is out of fairness to Tank Dell. I think I think there's kind of like a level of excitement where it's like you think you're going to see what you saw in year 1. We really didn't see that in the majority of year 2. So I'm trying to lay out some realistic expectations. Again, I think it is an accomplishment just to even be able to walk, quite frankly. But then when he does practice, like if it does happen, then we start to ask the question, like, what is Tank Dell going to look like? What is he physically going to look like? How does he fit in with these receivers? And that's where it gets kind of real, because I think he's going to have to be pretty good to make this team. And I think we're looking at the guys in front of him, the guys behind him. He's going to have to be pretty good. And that's really just kind of the baby steps. But just the fact that he's around the team, just the fact that he's in good spirits, it's great. It's great for him. But perspective, there's still a long way to go. And I'm sure that there's going to be, like, the adversity is not behind him when you're coming back from an injury like this. And that's the reality of the situation. There could be setbacks and all that, but just the fact that he's out there, it's a good thing.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up like the possibility of setbacks, because that's absolutely the case. I think that is something that clearly Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans, the way that they handle players in general, they are cognizant of that, and they'd rather err on the side of caution. Hell, you mentioned talking with or handling Tank Dell with kid gloves. They, to this point, haven't gotten anywhere near giving you anything close to a timeline. It's just like, hey, he's out here working, but he's, in great spirits is the only thing that they would give you definitively, is like, he's in great spirits, which of course you expect. That's the way the Tank Dell operates. It felt very notable that Nick Caserio was willing to even put some level of soft kind of deadline on. Yeah, training camp is an expectation because of how careful they had been with the dude who had torn all the CLs, right? Like, and so I think that means something. And if for no other reason, like, you're right that this is a wide receiver room that he is going to like have to work to earn his way into. I just love the idea that, okay, if he's actually going to be available in training camp in a year where there's a lot of conversation around CJ Stroud, no matter how you feel about it, I kind of love the idea that somebody that he clearly has so much chemistry with should be available to do some of these things, right? I know that Nico Collins easy, right? Jaden Higgins seems to be coming along, and I do feel that's something good about that. But at the very least, like, knowing that there's another dude that he has a good rapport with on the field, I'm very intrigued to see like what that looks like going into camp.
What does that really matter though if he's not like one of the top receivers? I'm just kind of pushing back on the notion that CJ is going to be comfortable, his buddy's going to be out there. Like, don't we like if he's not going to be ready to go, like shouldn't that not be something that they're overly concerned about? Like, what is he going to like? Is he going to hold his hand like that? That to me should not be a factor in this whole thing for CJ. And if it is, it kind of makes me a little bit concerned that CJ isn't ready to take that next step, because I don't know that Tank is a part of the plans even when he comes back. So how does CJ Stroud handle that? And that's the other part of this is if Tank Dell gets on the field, you try to do comps of the comparison of this injury, and there's only a couple. And those guys either had to readjust themselves or they were never even close to the same. Dante Culpepper's one, and Dante Culpepper just completely lost all his mobility afterwards. And I don't even think his was as bad as Tank. And then the other one is Sean Livingston. And Sean Livingston had to go from freak athlete to basically a mid-range assassin. And he reinvented himself nicely, but it seems like kind of a process. So my concern is, based on what you said, Reg, is if that is like a factor, then what happens if they have to make a tough decision and they just don't think that Tank Dell's ready, or they don't think that he's ready to contribute and be on the team?
Well, sorry, just to respond to that, I think it's less, I'm taking it less from the CJ Stroud perspective, which is fair. I probably could have been a little bit clearer about it. I think that's like adjustment for Tank. Like, you're right. There's going to be an adjustment on who he is. But I think that like within that adjustment, the quarterback relationship, like, and we know that in sports, sometimes there are some things that go beyond the communication, or the communication is just at a different level. I think that should help him be a little bit closer to the version of whatever he is, right? Like, obviously the physical aspect of this, I imagine the mental kind of connectivity should be some level of helpful.
Yeah, and to be clear, I agree with you. Yeah. With that perhaps being a factor, it's just, okay, if it is, then what's like the snowball effect of if he's not ready to go? To be clear, I agree with you that might be something.
If he's not ready to go, it actually makes it a lot easier to make a decision. You put him on some list and he gets to continue to work out and he gets to go to meetings and he's still in the organization. Like, if he goes out there and participates, it's just very difficult for Tank Dell to make this football team. It's very hard. He doesn't play special teams. He's not a gunner. He's not a better return man than the returners that they have. And he's never played football in this system, which, if we think it's true or not, notoriously seems hard for wide receivers to pick up. He's never played football. He's never gone out there, run the routes, done this thing. And I know he's been around the team, and I'm sure he's been in the meetings, and I'm sure he's talked to Nick Caley, but he's never had to go out there and do it. Like, it's very difficult to see how he's making this roster, regardless of the level of health, which also needs to be a factor as he comes back.
So do you guys know, not to get too nerdy on the designations and stuff like that, but like the
thing is too nerdy with the three people you're working with. I
understand. Yeah, no, but there's an audience too, so I want to be cognizant of that.
Really?
But like the pup list and things like that, like when does the team need to, because that might be a tell as to where Tank is if he starts training camp on some sort of pup list or something like that, right? Like if he doesn't have a designation and he's just practicing, that's a pretty good sign, I would say, with Tank. There's no penalty to putting him on a pup list to start the year, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty easy process to get you off it. That basically means you're working on the side. I anticipate that. Like, I would anticipate that they're going to have to put him on some sort of list to start the season. And
I would too. That's why I said he's not on one, then they must be very optimistic about him. You know, where he's at with the knee, you know.
But my thing would be, let's say he starts on the pup list, and he's on the pup list during training camp, and he starts the season on the pup list, which is a minimum of 4 games.
Yeah.
How does he ever get to a point where you can put him on the football field and trust him?
Right. No, I agree with that. If he's still pup listing 2 years after an injury, that's a bad sign. That's why I say, like, if he's not on any sort of list and it's like, let's go at training camp, that gets intriguing. Like, they're very optimistic about where he's at.
And I don't truly see a scenario where Dell's not in the organization, but there's different ways that you can handle that. He's on IR again this year and stuff like that. But, you know, it's a very difficult road that he's got ahead of him. He knew that when the injury happened. He knew that throughout the course of rehab. And when he steps on the football field, it's still going to be tough.
Well, it's not a deep room either. You know what I mean? Like, after the first the wide receiver room, I'm saying.
I think for what he does, it is a tough room to crack.
Okay.
Because
so what does the room look like? Like, give me what the depth chart of the wide receiver room looks like.
Well, he's obviously not going to play ahead of Nico or Jaden Higgins. Those are your two outside receivers.
Right.
Xavier Hutchinson, you would think, is a better football player right now than recovering from injury Tank Dell.
Probably. Yep.
Justin Watson. Oh, by the way, Hutchinson plays special teams.
Yep.
Justin Watson plays every special teams, and
Yep.
again, probably a better football player than recovering from injury Tank Dell.
Yeah.
And Jalen Knowles, your slot receiver, your starting slot
Okay.
receiver.
So those
Tank-
5.
Those 5. Tank's
Yeah.
not a pure slot guy. He can obviously play inside. Feels like
Yeah.
all these guys have versatility.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, is he the backup outside guy that doesn't play special teams? Now you're talking about 7 wide receivers because you probably keep a backup slot guy.
Yeah.
So now you're talking about 7 wide receivers, and that changes the roster machinations of everything. Now they
Yeah.
kept 7 last year at different times, but a lot of those guys could play special teams.
Yep.
Kirk didn't, Higgins didn't,
Yeah.
and Nico didn't. So
Right.
if it goes Nico, Higgins, and Tank as no special teams, everybody else has to play special teams.
I also think based on this, I think there's kind of a balance, and this is kind of the awkward situation with the Tank Dell thing, and is that based on everything that we've said, I think you got to see something. So it's not like a situation where Nico Collins or CJ Stroud is coming back from an injury, and it's like, well, we don't need to see them in the preseason.
Yeah, we know
what they're going to do.
Yeah.
They're going to be there. We know what they're coming off like a normal type of injury. Like this is a historic type of injury. So on one hand, it's like, okay, when he's not ready, you don't put him out there. But then it's like, you got to see something, I think, for him to be out there. Like Tank Dell almost seems like someone that I would like to see playing preseason game 3, playing
For sure.
preseason game 2. Like I feel like we need to see him in preseason, but it's just kind of awkward. Like when someone this popular is injured, it's like, okay, well, you can err on the side of caution. I almost feel like you have to see something from him in camp or in preseason.
Well, the way you laid out, and Cody, the way you laid it out, because one of the things I wrote down while you guys were talking about it, like, okay, who is Tank competing with? Because you've got guys that are in training camp and they're competing with other guys in the room to be at a certain level within that room. Then you've got other guys. I would say there's anywhere from like 8 to 10 guys at the end of training camp that aren't competing with guys in their room. They're competing with the 6th wide receiver is competing with the 4th tight end and the 8th linebacker and the 6th cornerback and things like that. It sounds like to me what you guys are saying is that's the level Tank's competing at right now. Like if he can even get back to training camp doing some of the things that he could do before, is like he's a guy now where it's not like, okay, is he the 3rd guy? And like in personnel groupings with 3 wide receivers, it's not, is Tank the 3rd wide receiver out there? No. This is Tank the 52nd or 53rd guy on the final roster at the end of training camp, right? Am I interpreting that accurately, right?
Yeah, because you're looking at Watson right now. He's lining up inside. He's actually 2nd in line. Nico's not out there, so there's that. So I think Watson, it appears, is kind of safe. Hutchinson's on every special teams. And then you ask how many wide receivers are they gonna keep? And this is where you start to do kind of roster gymnastics. I think the running backs are set in stone. I think you're keeping 4 backs. One of them happens to play fullback, and he's one of your best special teams players in British Brooks. He also happens to probably be the 4th best running back. So I think your running backs are set. I think you're keeping 4. Then the question is, well, how do you use the roster gymnastics now? Are you keeping 6 receivers? Are you keeping 7? What are you doing? You're probably going to cut Graham Mertz, I would think, at this point to give you some sort of flexibility, which means maybe you're keeping 4 tight ends. I don't know. But the other question is this, and this is a guy who kind of stuck out at OTAs. And you talk about CJ Stroud being a fan of Tank Dell. He's also a big fan of Lewis Bond.
Yeah.
And it feels like the coaches, the players, they're big fans of Lewis Bond. And he is a true slot guy. He also knows this system. Like that's another advantage that he has, is he has played in the system. Probably more than really most of the receivers on the team, if we're being honest. Like Lewis Bond played for OB at Boston College. He has more experience in this system than Higgins and Knoll, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. So, like, let's say they're going to keep 6 receivers, and let's say they like Tank Dell, and let's say they like Lewis Bond. Like, do you risk like not keeping Lewis Bond? Do you keep 7 receivers? Like, how does that work? And it also feels like on the back end of their wide receiver depth chart, and maybe this is just a small sample size, it feels like they like pure slot guys. Like it feels like even if you go back to like New England and stuff, like even last year with Berrios, like they like pure slot guys. So there's also that element. There's just a lot of questions when it comes to the Tank Dell thing. It's cool that we're having this discussion though, because that means that the possibility of Tank Dell being back on the field is at least there.
Yep.
An added complication in all of this is like this is his final season, right? So I mean, when you start talking about the Lewis Bond of this all, if this becomes even and you're trying to decide between the two, Does the prospect of we keep this young cat for like the entirety of his rookie deal as opposed to Tank Dell, where now we have to figure out what it looks like on the backside of it, does that factor in, is a question that you have to ask. Like, and one thing I've been thinking on, and I haven't really landed anywhere yet, it's just something I'm ruminating on, is you ask, do you keep 4 tight ends? It feels damn sure like they keep 4 tight ends, right? You do the Dalton Schultz clearly there, Foster Moreau clearly developing some level of veteran nature, also can block. Marlon Klein, right? Rookie guy, it feels like he's there. The way they've talked about Brevin Jordan just feels like it's not nothing, right? It feels like they've been salivating at being able to utilize him as a move tight end. And how much does, if that is the case, right, him being there, how much does that cut into the possibility of like slot receivers overall, right? The idea of, are we going to utilize a move tight end in the way that you would sometimes slot wide receiver, and how does that then factor in to the numbers that you're doing here? There's definitely going to be some interesting tells on how they're thinking about their offense in general when it comes down to the 53-man roster cut down later.
And let's also be clear about something else. Lewis Bond has been McDaniel's favorite. Like, there's not, like, he didn't hide that. There was no secret. Like, Lewis Bond has been McDaniel's favorite. I mean, he's the one who made the call. He talked about the system. He said he's the smartest player he's been around. Like, I don't know. I guess that kind of factors in. But the wide receiver coach's favorite guy is Lewis Bond. Let's be very clear about that.
Yeah, and if you're thinking too about like roster machinations, it's like what can you do on game day as well? Like I think that's important. And we're gonna have you active, and the only time we can put you on the field is when we want to take Nico Collins or Jaden Higgins off the field. It's like, well, they don't really do that much, and when they do, it's to run the football. So maybe they won't telegraph it as much this year like they did last year, late in the year. But yes, and I would also say too, Reggie, like the last year of the contract thing is not super important to me from a conversation standpoint, because if Tank's hanging around or if he's not making the team and they need to put him on some list, we already know they'll pay an injured guy. They did it with Brevin Jordan, and certainly I would think that Tank Dell will qualify for that as well.
Yeah, tack a year onto his deal like they did with Brevin Jordan.
Just to see, see, hey, maybe,
Yep, I can totally see that. All right, so let's shift gears. That was good, talking Tank Dell, and we got a little roster talk into. I like that. But let's go back to the events of the last 2 weeks with OTAs. We got to physically see about half of them. We had 6 OTAs. Media got to see 3 of them. We got some anecdotes from some other ones from D'Amico Ryans and others. From what you guys saw out there, or heard about the reporting, what were the biggest positives from OTAs the last couple of weeks? If you had to pick one, what would be the biggest one?
I'll start on defense. I think we saw the best version that we've seen of Jalen Smith. And I'm not here saying that there's like a large body of work or like some incredible stuff that we've witnessed between camp last year and the limited time we saw him on field. But I'll say this. He was lining up to the left. He was lining up to the right. He was lining up on the inside. It looks like he's been lifting weights with Derek Stingley. He's going stride for stride every time that he was guarding Jaden Higgins. And cornerback 3, I think it's kind of a position that we forgot about, out of sight, out of mind. They obviously liked him the year before. Jalen Smith, maybe it's nothing, but maybe it's something. But we saw the best version of him that we've seen in a very short time.
I mean, Cody, let me defer to you. Like, you obviously had the.
I think Keelan Rutledge is absolutely he absolutely has an opportunity to be the starting center for this team. Yeah. It is something that they are considering, and just judging from where we can see him, the snaps don't look bad. The pre-snap physicality that you look at from centers is present and there. And he's had a couple of nasty moments. So there was a moment in one of the OTAs where he moved Caden McDonald out of the way. There was another one where, Naquan Jones was off balance and Rutledge had his way with them. And, it's a couple of unpadded offensive line, defensive line reps, but he's absolutely a consideration. And physically, when he walks out there to go stand over the football and snap the ball to CJ Stroud, he looks like the physically most imposing player that they can put at that center spot. He's bigger, stronger, faster than Jake Andrews and Evan Brown and Eli Cox, who are the other 3 guys he's competing with for center spots. And yes, he needs every rep because that's not ever been his position. Only in an emergency would he have played it in college. Yeah, he's done a little snapping in the offseason leading up to becoming a member of the Houston Texans. And there's a lot that goes into the center spot beyond the physicality. But the only way, D'Amico Ryans loves to say it, the only way you get good at football is doing football. Well, they're giving him the opportunity to do football at the center position.
Yeah, I just like the thing I like about the Rutledge thing is that by far, in terms of the resources that you've used to refortify that offensive line, this is from the time they drafted him, this is the approach that's made the most sense. And that's what they're workshopping right now. Because you gave decent money to Wyatt Teller to be presumably your left guard. You brought back Ed Ingram on a deal where if he's not starting for you, that deal is a disaster. You're paying $13.5 million for a backup right guard. So just purely the tea leaves of what they think of these guys. And then you go draft Keelan Rutledge after re-signing and signing Teller and Ingram. The sensible thing to do if you want to get your best guys on the field would be to have Keelan Rutledge at center, even though he's never played that position before. Caserio said that in the interview on our show as well, because I asked him about, like, what are the challenges of a young guy like that playing center in this offense when he hasn't played it before. And Caserio is pretty clear, like, hey, now's the time to be trying stuff like this. Like position versatility, we know, is a huge deal with these guys, for better or worse. And now's the time to be trying stuff like that. I like that he's out there snapping to CJ Stroud. I think it's a great sign that they're, they seem to be willing to head into minicamp this week and maybe training camp early on at least to see what Rutledge can do. So I love that. I like the, what we've seen out of some of the rookies that aren't Rutledge or Caden McDonald. Now, not, if we're going to get to negative parts of OTAs, and Marlon Klein not being out there would definitely fit that category. We can talk about that in a minute. But the linebackers they drafted, Wade Woodaz and Aiden Fisher, they seem very positive on both of those guys. There's opportunities there now for either of them to get in there with EJ Speed, now out for the season. And then you guys mentioned Lewis Bond, and I think Lewis Bond's got a really good chance to make the team. Certainly somebody who's super intriguing heading into training camp. So it looks like they did some good things on day 3 in the draft as well. At the very least, they've created some intriguing names at the back end of the roster in day 3 so far through OTAs.
Yeah, Woodaz is the superior. He's the superior guy in coverage when you watch him. Lined up by Azeez Al-Shire and Henry To'oTo'o. And I know some people will say it's 7-on-7. That's true. The physical element, maybe you don't look as sharp, but just in 7-on-7, which I think if you're just basing backpedaling, movement, instincts, all that, I actually think it can be almost a better measurement than the physicality. So I think that we know that Azeez and Henry To'oTo'o have their limitations in coverage. I can at least see the vision of Wade Woodaz on like passing downs being a guy that's a really, really good option. He moves very well when it comes to covering receivers, seeing what's going on. And even when guys were catching balls, he was right there. And there were a couple times where he probably could have knocked the dude's head off because he was in the right spot, had there been contact. So I think that is very interesting. I can see the vision of Wade Woodaz being a third down linebacker. And quite frankly, he doesn't look small or anything. So it looks like he could potentially be a guy that could fill in for EJ Speed. But I thought Woodaz, based on what we saw and what we were able to look at, I thought it looked very good.
Yeah, not just EJ Speed too, by the way, because Jamal Hill's got a wrap on his hand. Jake Hansen's not practicing right now. And Aiden Fisher's not practicing. So, Woodaz getting the opportunities and making the most of it's certainly notable. And then there's, I'll put this as a positive because nobody knew who the hell the guy was or why he was here. And I know D'Amico Ryans had this giant gushing 60-second comment about how awesome he is, but Marte Mapu doesn't look like he's, a fish out of water or just totally lost out there. Like Patriots fans acted like he was the scourge of the earth when he left. Like he ruined the entire team last year. Like, yeah, it looks like he knows what he's doing out there and he plays a bunch of special teams. So you need bodies. You're going to have opportunities there at linebacker. And boy, D'Amico Ryans, I think it was 64 seconds on how great Mapu Marte is.
Yeah, there was
Mapu. I'll figure out his name. Don't
added some favorites to the list for sure with Mapu and Foster Moreau.
I wrote Moreau down too. Moreau is doing a lot of things out there.
He's added some favorites. He said he's a football guy. I don't know what the hell that means, but okay, he's a football guy. All right. I think they're all football guys technically, right? But yeah, he's a football guy according to D'Amico. Whatever that means, that is he.
If D'Amico likes it, then I'm here for it. If he's whatever football guy means, I'm good. Yeah. Yeah, Moreau's making a lot of catches out there, man. He was doing some things.
Yeah, he looks good actually. I mean, he looks like a TE2, and he looks he looks like he's a little bit feisty, a little bit fiery. It'd be interesting to see what it looks like when the pads get on, and he makes Reggie look pretty smart. Reggie was
That's why I was
Reggie
bringing. Yeah, I know
was
Reggie's
driving
a
the
big,
bus on there.
big Moreau guy, man.
I mean, you look at the tape. Some of that showed up, right? Like, I mean, sincerely, like, obviously the physicality, the blocking stuff is there, but like the capability of doing the basic tight end stuff. Like, can you be dangerous catching the football just enough, right? We saw like tight ends, a number of them this past year, get paid in ways that we did not anticipate possible, just because they could do a little bit of that. Like Charlie Kohler got a whole bunch of money in Los Angeles for being that type of dude. And it seems like Foster Moreau is going to help them unlock some of this. I'm just
picturing you, Reggie, just going Greg Cosell on a bunch of Foster Moreau tape. Like, just you look at the tape. Reggie's got the Foster Moreau tape.
I would like to pretend I was doing all that. But, I mean, honestly, it jumps out a little faster than that. Like, you don't need to go that deep if we're going to be all that honest. But honestly, to the idea of like plying the offense, when it comes to the OTAs, now I'm leaning on like things that people said, and everybody is inclined to be very, I guess, positive this time of year anyways. But the way that everybody's talked about the offense and like how far they are along, and how capable everybody is at being a practitioner of it at this point, right? Like, it's a lot of talk, but they seem like they are like wiping their brow, like, whoo, compared to last year, this is different, which you got to hope is some level of like foundation where they can build on, so that they can be significantly more capable of actually doing things where they put defenses on their heels this year.
There are people who are not prone to hyperbole speaking somewhat hyperbolic about where this offense is now as to where it was a year ago. So that's why I'm very anxious for the pads to go on with this whole thing in July. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think it should be further along. I mean, they were learning the new offense last year, so I know a lot of times there's like a
light years, Landry, light years.
It should be like, there's a portion of media types that will go to a press conference and they'll grasp like a quote, and sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't. I think Nick Caley did a good job of explaining it, that, basically, yeah, that's expected. And shout out to Nick Caley for doing that. But yeah, if you're not further along at this point than you were last year, when the quarterback wasn't throwing the football and the offense was new and you were trying to figure it out, then I don't know what the hell is even going on here. So I did like Nick Caley getting specific about putting wide receivers in different positions and guys in position. Like, when he starts saying stuff like that, I get it. But as far as the offense being further along, I'm like, yeah, I would hope so.
Well, Spencer got into like CJ, like re-IDing and stuff, and all that stuff feels like things that you're still longing for deep into the season, right? I understand what you're saying, right? Like, we don't want to lean too far on it, but also we're early on in this where you hope that they are going to be able to build on this. And damn it, put on an actual offense onto the field, because that's all we were asking for with the level of defense they have. You put an actual offense on the field, and now you're cooking with grease.
I hate to burst everybody's bubble about the offense looking better. It's not like they're out there dicing the defense up. I mean, like, and I understand there's caveats to everything, and Nico's not on the field because he's working on the side and stuff like that. But
neither is
it's not like they're even on 7-on-7 without the pass rush. It's not like they're just like surgically taking them apart. There's some nice moments, and both CJ Stroud and Davis Mills had a situational drive that ended in a touchdown in the most recent practice, which was good to see. But it's not like, if they're real far ahead, it hadn't shown up yet, I guess is the way I would say.
No, it sounds like a lot of what they talk about with that respect, Cody, is like just getting out of the huddle quickly, and I know it needs to result in actually moving the chains in a real game. I understand that. I get that. Yeah. But it seems like a lot of what they're referring to is just the process pre-snap and all that other stuff is just looks cleaner, looks better. I'm with you. Like, I've said this, they made a bunch of acquisitions on the offensive side of the football this offseason, on the offensive line, David Montgomery, tight end room, all this other stuff. I was most excited about Reed Blankenship because I know that that's going to actually result in something on the defensive side of the football, like having a real safety. Until I see this offense actually be something better than 23rd in EPA and 21st in this and whatever, because it's been that way for a couple of years now, until I see it come to fruition, or at least until I see something in training camp when the pads go on that give me optimism, then I am wait and see on everything on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah,
Yes.
it does look better though, and I am very encouraged by the running backs, and I think that there is. It feels like they might be able to get him involved in the pass game. I said that with Bobby, with Mixon, and I said it last year with Woody Marks. It just feels like it doesn't happen, and it kind of led me to wonder, like, is it just the OC or is the QB part of that too? Because there's been a constant on it. So I think there's a massive opportunity to get these running backs involved in the pass game. It feels like they're putting out a lot of options. For David Montgomery. David Montgomery's lining up all over the place. Woody Marks looks as smooth as possible. I've said that the last 3 years, and I just haven't seen it. So hopefully they do it.
All right, do we want to get to Prize Picks, Cody? Tell the people about how they can get on Prize Picks and win a bunch of money with us.
Let's do it. Prize Picks. You play your first $5, you get $50 instantly in lineups when you sign up with the code HMA. Prize Picks is daily fantasy. All you got to do is predict more or less on some given stats, and we'll pull the Prize Picks up for you for the NBA Finals tonight. More or less, gentlemen. Don't everybody jump at once. What do we got here to put our lineup together?
I'll go first since I had Wemby over or more than on points, and he screwed us by going 6 for 21. I'm going Josh Hart more than 9 points tonight.
Okay.
Home game, MSG. He's going to knock down a few threes. He's already very involved. You know what I mean? He led everybody in rebounds and steals and assists. So I feel like at home, got a little momentum. He's going to shoot a little better tonight. Somewhere along the way, he's going to find his way to 10 points tonight. So I'm going more than 9 points, Josh Hart.
I'm going to stay with Josh Hart. I'm going to go more than 3.5 personal fouls with Josh Hart. Very physical. This was at 2.5. Then it went up to 4, 3.5. And oh, by the way, I ate the Josh Hart Chipotle burrito today. And it was very, very enjoyable. Yeah, it's on
What's in the Josh Hart Chipotle burrito?
Double chicken, some corn, some sour cream, some tomatoes, some fire roasted salsa. It was good. Yeah, it was just an option. I was like, yeah, Josh Hart's got a burrito. Let me check it out. Okay, that's kind of similar to my order.
It says Josh Hart burrito there.
Yeah, when you order online on Chipotle, they have it. They have like Josh Hart burrito. It's good.
That's delightful.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to have a Chipotle burrito named after me.
Sick. What would be on it is the question.
Lots of sour cream, lots of cheese, very few vegetables. Yes.
Yeah. I'm going with Dylan Harper. He did not look like the moment was going to be too big for him, so more on his points for me. This one, Reggie, round it out here for us.
Get us a winner, Reggie.
I would like to be very, very simple because I've been going out of my way to try and get right, and I'm wrong. So I'm just going to go with Captain Clutch himself, Jalen Brunson, more than 1.5 3-pointers.
Oh, yeah.
This is just, yeah, man. 1.5 is the number there. I was like, please, yes. At home, in the Garden, right? Like an opportunity to take a decisive 3-0 lead. He's going to come off some screens and just pull.
It is a green goblin,
Reggie. The old green goblin Reggie.
Yeah.
The old green goblin Reggie.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to get to second and short. You know what I mean?
Reggie's week 1 college football pick, Georgia over Charleston. Thanks, Reggie.
Yeah. $10 can win us 72.50 here with the power play. So we'll put that lineup in. You can follow along.
That's pretty good.
Look at McBride, more than a half 3-pointer. Throw it in there too.
Okay.
McBride. Let's ride the McBride.
Deuce McBride has been stinking. Oh, but he's a role player playing at home. That's a good shout. I like that.
He made two. He made 2 in game 1. I've been taking the 5-5 just for the thrill of it because he's going to shoot every time he touches the ball. So it's very fun.
So that bumps us up to 10-1.
10 to win 100 here on Prize Picks. You can play your first $5, get $50 in free lineups instantly added to your account when you sign up with the code HMA. Play your first 5, get $50 in free lineups instantly added to your account.
Let's ride, fellas. Let's go. That'll be fun tonight. All right, let's get to the next chapter in our saga here over there on the left-hand side of the screen, and that would be the negatives from Texans OTAs. We went pretty deep on what we saw that we liked out there. What did you guys see that is concerning or something that gives you a little bit of agita?
All right, look, I'm not going to sit here and act like this is the end of the world. It could be a small thing, but a lot of times this small thing, it becomes a bunch of small things, and sometimes it lingers. Like when someone has soft tissue injuries, a lot of times that's something that happens over the course of their career. Sometimes it's something that happens and you completely forget about it. But when you're a tight end and you're brought in to be on the roster and the guys behind you are guys who've had trouble staying healthy and they're on the field with the first on-field activity and you're not, I'm going to at least like put it in the back of my mind that Marlon Klein already has a soft tissue injury while I'm looking up and seeing a more trim, fit Cade Stover doing whatever it is he does. And I'm looking at Brevin Jordan doing his thing. So it's not a good thing. At the very least, we can acknowledge it's not a good thing to have your rookie tight end not out there participating because of a soft tissue injury. So that would be at the very top of my list.
Yeah, it's Sean. What did you see? It's what we didn't see is Marlon Klein on the field. And I would go and say from a CJ Stroud perspective, yeah, look, I know the defense is tough and I know Nico Collins isn't out there, but that's not any reason to not be on the same page with Jaden Higgins.
Yeah.
He cannot consistently find Jaden Higgins and make the play with him. And even in the situational the other day, they get down in the red zone and it's just a big overshoot on Higgins. And the next play is Jalen Noel touchdown in the middle of the end zone. It's like, okay, that's easier to stomach and easier to understand. Like I can't figure out or understand why Jaden Higgins and CJ Stroud just can't connect. And maybe it's as simple as Jaden Higgins is doing Nico Collins' job right now, and he'll be a lot better when he's doing his job and Nico Collins is doing Nico Collins' job. Maybe it's that simple, but it goes back to last year and to see it carry over this year. That's not been good to see, the inability to get on the same page with Jaden Higgins.
Yeah, I would say, and you guys, you know, Landry, you and Cody were out there the whole time. I got there for the end of 11 on 11, you know, the team, you know, the team drills when we were out there.
Which is admirable, by the way, for someone that's on the air from 6 to 10 a.m. to be out there. That's very admirable, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Very impressive.
I actually don't find it that admirable. I just appreciate that you take it serious.
You're welcome. Yeah. I just like seeing you guys out there more than anything else. You know, it's a big reunion out there. But for all the talk of the offense and it being light years ahead and blah, 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 every time I was out there for 11 on 11, it seemed like they were really struggling to move the football. It seemed like guys were having trouble getting open. To your point, Cody, the misfires with CJ and Jaden Higgins in particular were a little troubling. At least that one day where CJ was really off. I know you recapped it. That was like the lead of your recap that day was kind of the day that CJ had out there. So I'm not ready to say like it's this negative that's spoiling things heading into training camp. I would love to see more out of the offense. And I would say like the ease with which it seems like Will Anderson Jr. just destroys things while he's out there. He's Will Anderson Jr. So I don't like there is the side of it where you're like, okay, I'm really happy that the second best defensive player in football last year is continuing to do things that would seem to indicate like the 150 million doesn't really matter to him. He's going to be out there just killing people anyways. And how dialed in Will seems to be, even when he's on the sidelines, hyping guys up and things like that. That's all great to see. The flip side is that is the offense that they're going to try to make a run to the Super Bowl with this year. And I don't know that I've seen a ton yet, granted without Nico Collins, but I think again, that illustrates some of the concerns I have with the depth in that wide receiver room. You know, it's people are excited about Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel's got potential and Xavier Hutchinson is kind of steady. We don't know what Tank Dell is going to be. That's still, I feel like the depth of that room with some folks feels a little overblown. Like there's just not a lot of proven stuff going on in that room. And I think that's played itself out in some of these practices so far. So yeah, those have been, it's hard to find a negative on the defensive side of the ball. Let me just put it that way. Like they're like, they look dialed in at all three levels right now.
I can give you one and
okay.
I can give you just one. And it's really just kind of a confirmation of what we thought. And maybe it looks completely different once Danielle Hunter's there, but the tackle that Will Anderson's not going against does not look that bad at this point. And part of me says, okay, wow, what do they have with this Neal guy? Wow, maybe Blake Fisher has improved. And the other part of me says, okay, this thought about concern on edge depth is maybe it's a real thing. So that's kind of the thing for me is I was concerned about edge depth heading into this thing, and I'm probably as or more concerned after just kind of laying eyes on these guys and seeing what they do or don't offer. Now, I will say Logan Hall was not out there. D'Amico said initially he's going to start out on the inside. We'll see what he kind of looks like, but it's not like a huge negative. Again, Sean, we always talk about it's like talking about your honor student getting a B+ or something like that.
Right.
But I will say edge depth, I think it's still at the very least, it's an extreme unknown with not like a huge amount of like optimism, but maybe that's also a trade-off for when you have two elite edge guys, you can only have so much depth.
Mm-hmm.
Not a trade-off I'd be like super happy about though, because like the edge rushing and the pressure is kind of the engine of everything that they do here, right? And the nature of being able to continue to rotate dudes in and have those first two dudes really fresh for the big moments where they can go and wreck it. Like, does that shift if you have to lean a little bit heavily on them?
It doesn't feel good that we feel strongly that Derek Barnett could come off his couch and be the third best defensive end on this team. Like, that doesn't bode well for where they are at defensive end. And that might not be a bigger issue for other teams, but like, this is an organization that the way they play defense, they put those guys on the field a ton. Like, you're coming out of TV timeouts and you're like, where the hell is Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson? And it's like, oh, Dylan Horton's on the field for a couple of snaps. And it's like, other teams don't do that as much. Now, maybe Dominic Robinson gets to training camp, but he starts, getting fools. Maybe Logan Hall is actually going to play a little bit more outside than D'Amico Ryan's intimated. Like, there's potential solutions, but I haven't seen them, formulate into a solution that you should be excited about yet.
Yeah. The inside guys are crazy though. Like, even without Sheldon Rankins there, like even like some of the there's undrafted guys where you're like, oh, who's this? Like, the interior is just insane. Tommy Togiai looks even better than he did last year, and he's got much more resistance too on the interior. Like, he's not going against Laken Tomlinson and Jared Patterson. Like, he's got some real guys that are trying to fight him out there. The interior is the complete opposite. Maybe it's as simple as iron sharpens iron, that they always talk about, but yeah, it's the edge is just kind of, if we're going to nitpick, I'm a little concerned about the edge depth.
So have you floated your idea to Tommy Togiai yet, Landry, about holding out?
I don't know. If I talk to him, I'll ask him, like, what's it like? I really will. I'll ask him, like, what's it like to see all these guys getting extra extensions? Where are you at?
Yeah. You guys need to get him after practice this week, because your Wyatt Teller interview was great. You guys did a good job with him.
The first thing I'm going to say is, what the hell are you doing here, man?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Holding out.
Exactly. It might not even have dawned on him yet. If you go with that much oomph with it, like, he may start thinking about it a little bit.
I'm not going to do that, people.
I know you won't. I know you. No, but we should mention here. I know we still want to do minicamp preview this week, but I wanted to make sure we mentioned the Wyatt Teller interview that you guys did. I thought the answer to his question, or the answer to the question, about him, the answer where he gave he kind of dished on what he felt like was going on in Cleveland over his final season there was some fascinating audio. I thought that was great.
Yeah, it's very accountable. It's kind of like the human element of an athlete where I respect it. I appreciate it. I think the turmoil spoke for itself. But I mean, me and Cody talked about this last year with Joe Mixon, where people were saying he's coming back. And my thing was, I always try to put myself in the players' POV and the teams is, for what? Like, he's trying to prolong his career. He's just going to come back in the middle of a season and get hurt. And I mean, that was if he was able to come back. Like, if you're in a situation like he was, and I don't think this is very swarmy, but the team's going to move on from you. They're rotating you at guard. The coach is getting fired. Like, self-preservation would probably be a smart thing. I just think it was interesting that he actually kind of admitted it. And I mean, maybe he's just saying that to kind of cope with his skills not being what they once were. But regardless, I thought it was good stuff to hear from him.
Yeah, Wyatt Teller should not be busting his ass at the end of the season for a Cleveland Browns team that's going nowhere. That's business, and most people would back up the business element that Teller doing that. Like, he said as much, like, hey, I got complacent. I worked harder this offseason. Like, I'm going to be better. It's like, okay, you that's lofty goals, because at least he analyzed it and thought something was wrong and tried to improve it. Laken Tomlinson spent 3 years kind of having his entire fan base.
So why are we bringing up Laken Tomlinson?
Laken Tomlinson spent 3 years with fan bases pissed at him and then walked in like nothing was wrong here in Houston. So
Well,
and then
I think
got rotated with Juice Scruggs
yeah.
by week 6.
Yeah. No, I thought two things, from the bits and pieces I saw of the full interview, is that one, as a Texan fan, I got really excited hearing Wyatt Teller kind of juxtapose the way things operate here versus the way they operated in Cleveland. Like it's like this, everything that we think about watching, at least the way they go about things here. You can argue, you can argue about the results, especially on the offensive side of the ball, and they haven't gotten past the divisional round, et cetera. There is zero doubt as to the level of effort that goes into try and put a great product out there in training camp and how hard they practice and how you need to be wired in order to deal with that. I thought Wyatt Teller did a good job of laying that out. The other thing too was I listened in on Cleveland radio this morning, as I am wont to do, and just to see, because I knew they'd be playing that audio, because Landry, I knew you would send it to them because you used to work with those guys. And in the 6 o'clock hour, their 6 o'clock hour, our 5 o'clock hour, they played that bit of audio that I'm talking about Wyatt Teller. And I thought it was really interesting that they were, I was almost expecting, because I started to put myself in the shoes of a Texan fan, if there were some, like when Randall Cobb talks shit about the Texans or Charles Omenihu, there's this tendency to get defensive about like, hey, that's our team. I was expecting that, and I didn't get that out of either guy on their morning show up there, out of Anthony Lima or Ken Carmen. They were both like, yeah, I get it. It was horrible here last year at the end, and they kind of put a lot of it on Stefanski and just kind of the operation. I would have been most distraught in that whole sequence of audio and everything we've talked about here with Wyatt Teller. The people that should feel the most like agita over all of it should be Atlanta Falcons fans, because Stefanski's their coach now. It felt like they were putting a lot of it on Stefanski's front porch. So, but it was really good. I want to bring that up because you guys did a really good job with that. So that was great. Yeah. All right, minicamp coming up, starting tomorrow, Wednesday, and then, sort of parentheses around Thursday, I guess, right now, depending on, how things go the rest of the week. I don't think any of us are expecting 3 practices, but we know we'll get at least 2. What are you guys most looking forward to seeing in mandatory minicamp this week?
I want to see Daniil Hunter and I want to see Sheldon Rankins. I just want to get a visual of this full D line. We haven't gotten that yet. I'm intrigued to see what it looks like. And I don't know if Logan Hall is going to go or not, but I want to see Daniil and Will out there because it just completely adds like just the visual of the defense and how good it already looks. That's what I'll be looking for. I don't think that we see Marlon Klein. They might be kind of cautious with that, but also be watching to see if he gets back on the field too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with the vacated opportunities of Klein not being there, let's see if Brevin Jordan or Cade Stover go out there and make a play. We know Moreau and Dalton Schultz are on this team. So let's see if one of those guys takes advantage of the opportunity with maybe a couple extra reps headed their way in their bid to be that 4th tight end for this team. I hope Nico Collins gets on the field and we get to see what the offense, either 7-on-7 or in teams, looks like with Nico Collins on the field. Because, again, I suspect Jaden Higgins' job is easier when Nico's on the field. I would think that the slot receiver's job is easier when Nico's on the field. And certainly C.J. Stroud's job is easier when he has Nico Collins. So I'd like to see that happen if Nico's ready to rock.
I mean, something as simple as with the limited amount of time that you have, how much more Keelan Rutledge at center do you get? Like, how much more do they prioritize getting him opportunities with CJ Stroud underneath him? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm ultimately very intrigued by, because that's the starting position that I still have questions about at center.
Yeah. A couple things. Do we know why? Was Nico? Were they just load managing, or is he dealing with anything? Do we know why he didn't practice at all in OTAs?
I was probably vacation days on the new bonus.
Why you got to be such a curmudgeon?
Well, he explained why the money happened. I mean, he either explained it or you need to read between the lines and it got explained to you. But I mean, he shows up at the end of practice and he's drenched in sweat. So
yeah,
my
he's doing something.
My assumption is he's working out very hard to come back from whatever has kept him away from team situations.
And it makes me kind of wonder if, like, when Caserio said the time is now, if like maybe that's why we saw Rutledge getting more center snaps. I'm interested to see, because Jared Patterson's out of the rotation. Like I think it's he is like probably buried even more than Juice Scruggs was last year at this point. Like he's way back, like stiff arm way back. But I do wonder if like the Andrews and Rutledge was a little bit of getting him involved, and maybe there was an element of that with Nico Collins. But I think if they had to play a game tomorrow, Nico Collins is playing.
Oh yeah,
there's no doubt. So it's not. I don't know
minor
why, but it feels like he's good to go. And there are times where we saw him participate in some full-time drills. It's not like Tank, who didn't do any. We did see him participate in like some full-time drills. So
yeah.
And,
Well,
they have some of those guys out there for like a portion of practice. Then they go do what seems to be like some intense rehab stuff inside sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
well, you mentioned Tank. That would, just to bring it all the way back around, circle of life. Tank's foray into practice last week is at the very end of the last OTA. So I want to see if this is sort of a cliffhanger into the next chapter, into the sequel here, which is Minicamp, and see if he's doing things from the outset, albeit even if it's small things. See if that carries over, because he was doing more at the end on Thursday than he's been doing with the team throughout the last 18 months, just to see if that carries over. Not that he's doing things that are, high level, strenuous, going 100% type of stuff, but is he doing at least at the level he was doing at the end of OTAs? And so is this a continuation here? That'll be what I'm among the things I'm most intrigued by. Cody, are you going to be timing the hang time of the punters again this week?
Yeah, why not? Well, I mean, Landry takes inventory of who's on what punt unit and this and that. So I watch the punters and get the stopwatch out. And
by the end, you didn't even have the stopwatch out because you're so good at it. You knew to the 10th of a second what the hang time was.
Yeah, one guy clearly is 5 seconds plus, the other guy's clearly under 5 seconds.
Well, you can say who's what, can't you? Or are we not allowed to?
Yes,
talk about that?
I think Stonehouse has a bigger leg and the ball is in the air longer.
Yeah,
and Kai Kroger doesn't have as big a leg, and he's got more mishits. If we're trying to count them all up, he's got more mishits than Stonehouse.
Okay, so handicap it. What are the is it like Stonehouse minus 400, Kroger plus 250? Like, what are we doing here?
I'd go Stonehouse like minus 120.
Minus one. Okay, so it's still near a coin flip right now.
Yeah, I would think
still
so.
A little early.
Being in the NFL has to matter a little bit, but
right.
If you just have the kid go out there and just show the big leg time and time again, the decision's going to get made for him.
We haven't had a punter battle in forever. Even when they were shitty, we knew who the punter was. It was Cam Johnston. He
was like their biggest investment during that battle.
Right,
he was the only one who got like a three-year deal, whatever. Yeah, he was great.
We even had a good old-fashioned punter battle in a long time.
I appreciated Frank Ross talking about it, because I asked him, like, how do you judge it? Like, is it comparison, or is it this guy just checks enough boxes and then ultimately that's it? And he's like, yeah, you try not to do too much comparison. Great. That's how Frank Ross is going to do it. I'm going to literally compare punt to punt, guy to guy. Like, I'm literally going to say he kicked the ball further than the other guy, so he should be better than that guy. So Frank could do that. I'm going to do it my way.
Yeah. The last time we had a punter competition was when they ran Leckler off, which was kind of surprising. And I think it was in West Virginia. They had someone punting side by side, and BOB ran Leckler off. I think Leckler's still pissed about that.
Okay. Was that like the Brian Anger era? I'm trying to remember.
No, Anger was a little bit after, but I forgot who the guy was that was, and maybe it ended up being Anger, but there was some other guy that was like side by side with Leckler. I want to say in 16 or 17, whatever the last year of Leckler's career was, and he was so pissed. Like, I think he still wanted to punt, but yeah, he basically got ran off.
I got to go back and look. Yeah, this is a
hold on. Trevor Daniel.
Yeah. Yes. BOB loved him, man.
He did.
He loved him. He got Leckler out of town.
Oh my God.
That is, you could have given me a million guesses. I would not remember that name.
No, but now that you mention his name, I remember him vividly. Like, it was, Trevor Daniel. Holy shit.
Brian Anger was good too, and they just
Brian Anger was good. That was the following year, I think, was Brian Anger.
Yeah, Brian Anger was good, and then we went to Cam Johnston, who was good, and he's had like injuries completely ruin him, and then you have Tommy Townsend up and down, and then who knows now?
Look at Casario getting out of the Cam Johnston business just in time.
He did. That was a good
executive of the year. Yeah.
No reinvestment in the Aussie style punter either.
Nope. All right, boys. Well, this was fun as always. Look forward.
Hold on, Reggie. It felt like there was a thought there. You got something for
There was, and it was one of the few times where I could manage to keep it inside my brain.
Okay.
Hit it. Let it out.
It was going to be something to the effect of, is the Aussie style punter just kind of out of form, out of vogue in the league just generally?
if you ain't got the kid in Seattle, you definitely got the second or third best one.
Show some respect. That's Michael Dixon. Don't disrespect not
Texas
knowing.
alum. Yes, we get it.
Longhorns
Landry.
sticking it. Yeah, look at
There it
Landry
is.
sticking it for
That's
the
a
horns.
Texas Bowl MVP, sir. That's hey, that stadium right down the street from you, Reggie, right there down Kirby. He is a bowl game MVP, my
He
friend.
is. He's an NRG Stadium legend.
Have they put his something up in the rafters for him yet?
They
or-
should have drafted him instead of Kiki QT. We wouldn't be having these punter conversations. We'd be having a ring of honor. We'd be having a ring of honor conversation right now about Michael Dixon if they would have drafted him instead of Kiki QT.
boy.
True story. True story. All right, boys. Well, this was fun. As always, Landry, 10:30 tonight. You got a thing going on?
Dude, I got some localized NBA lessons that the Texans might need to take. Localized NBA lessons. I'm actually very excited for this. So we got 6 localized NBA lessons. We're going to look ahead to this week. But there are 6 things they can learn from the NBA playoffs and put to practice heading into this season.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. All right, so catch Landry 10:30 on the Locker Room with Landry Locker on YouTube. You can, of course, catch him with Cody Stutes on SNL and Houston Football with Cody Stutes. Spankies anytime coming up soon, fellas?
Friday,
This
baby.
Friday.
This Friday. Okay, so we got Spankies coming up on Friday is it Bel Air? Is it
It's
or West
Bel Air,
End?
Sharpstown.
It's in Sharpstown on Bel Air.
On Bel Air. Okay, got it. In Sharpstown on
Cody's
Bel Air.
good. Cody used to sell weed right down the street.
Oh yeah, yeah.
not
That's
true.
Right there at that mall where the jewelry shop is. He used to walk around with a backpack selling
Cody's
weed
like,
under
that's not
kids.
true. Cody's like shaking his head, that's not true. I sold meth. Not
I was like,
weed."
Cody would
Okay.
never do his deals
Yeah.
in that manner, you know.
Because when you think about a meth dealer, they definitely look like me.
But that's
Yeah,
the point,
totally.
right? Like that's how you get
Totally.
around it. Nobody would suspect.
They assume he's got like 8 cinnamon rolls in his backpack.
I
and it's
was,
like a
I
bunch of-
was dealing donuts and Cinnabon.
Yes. Yes, that's right. Cotton candy and bomb pops. Let's go.
Don't go, for Auntie Ann. I took her out.
And Reggie, you can catch him tomorrow, 10 a.m. on Sports Radio 610. Reggie and the hose. How the hose, Reggie?
Last I checked, doing pretty damn well.
Okay,
yeah.
good. Yeah, how could you not be? You know, it's good to be a hoe these days. All right.
I've often said that.
As the old saying goes. You can catch me tomorrow at 6 a.m. on Payne and Pendergast on Sports Radio 610. Fellas, this was fun. Appreciate everybody who tuned in on the chat. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, tell a friend about the Texans Collective. Training camp will be here before we know it. We still got a ton to get to even before training camp arrives. So this is a great time of year. We appreciate all of you spending a little time with us here on a Monday evening. So until next Monday, we will see all of you then. Have a great week. Cody, as always, end stream.